It's a little bit hillbilly, it's a little bit cowboy, but it gets the job done.
It's not coming out the bottom, it's
Right.
coming out the top.
Oh,
sorry.
Quick.
You guys want to know what being a Jackson on a ranch is? This is being it.
150 years ago out here, back when this house was brand new, this is the way apple cider was done. But this is the easy part. This is the pressing. The hard part was the chopping, the mashing, the grinding up of all the apples. Anyone who's made apple cider knows it takes so many apples, thousands of apples, to get any good quantity of cider. So we're gonna show you the historic setup, the way our ancestors did it. And then we're also gonna show you the way we still do it today. It's a little bit hillbilly, it's a little bit cowboy, but it gets the job done. And every year we invite tons of our friends out and we grind, mash, press, filter, and drink lots of apple cider. Gallon after gallon of apple cider. So let's jump right into it. The 1889 way and the 2025 way. Let's get to work. First things first, this is the old-fashioned press. The legs pop out, they're removable, so I've got this whole thing set up. And then our filters here, very fancy, I know. And then one pan, two pans. And this little funnel right there, that's how we're gonna direct the juice out and into our big mason jars. So we've got all our tools, they're scalded, they're cleaned. This part is the easy part. The pressing, this is just about squeezing every bit of juice out of that apple pulp. The really hard part was making the pulp. And this is where we have to leave the solitude of the cabin and jump over the railroad grade to where a big old party is happening. Because the grinding and mashing of the apples, the buckets and buckets of apples, requires neighbors and friends. This would be a very difficult job to do by yourself.
There you go. So Pat's gonna dump those down the chute when hey, not yet.
What if they're not in there yet?
I know. We're gonna turn it on first.
We're jumping right into the meat of things here. This is Grandma and Grandpa's hillbilly setup, a commercial-grade garbage disposal, hooked up just for this purpose. Now, the family tried an old homeowner's one before, but it turns out that doesn't hold up to this sort of work. It burnt out immediately.
And that thing's called a motor, and that thing's called a garbage disposal.
Yep,
Does it have a knife in it, Mom?
it does. So after years of trial and error, this is the setup. Pat and the boys dump the apples into this pulp maker, seeds, cores, skins, and all. But there is a step before this one that has to be done completely by hand. We don't want mold in this apple cider. We don't want blackened, mushy, insect-ridden parts of apples. So those have to come out first. And there's no fancy machine for this. Just good old-fashioned eyes and hands making the call. One washed, cleaned apple cut up at a time, then into the grinder. Now, old-timers have told me that there's apples, and then there's cider apples. Cider apples come in later, after the first freeze sweetens them. But here in Montana, this ain't like back east. We have to scrounge for every apple we can get. It's tough to grow them here. So for the past month and a half, we have been hunting down any tree, collecting any apple we can find. Large, small, green, overripe, all of them. The ones that were falling off the trees a month and a half ago, we've put them in buckets and stored them down in the basement. We don't have the luxury of perfect varieties here, so we've taken everything we can get, from true cider apples, regular eating apples, to crab apples, and they are all here in these buckets today. This is where our cider's coming from. Okay, we've got one big bucket of pulp and juice still mixed together. The cleaned apples have gone through the grinder, and this is where the old apple press, a tool made specifically for this, gets its one day a year to shine. And we've got it out here at the 1889 cabin. 150 years ago out here, back when this house was brand new, these were the tools the family used to make apple cider. Now this is the easy part, this is the pressing. But the hard part is the chopping, the mashing, getting those apples turned into some sort of pulp that you can press the juice out of. Now, I'm not sure exactly how they did this part. The memories of that have just been lost to time.
Oh no!
But I'd hazard a guess it was either done the long, slow way with knives, chopping, and a bucket with wooden mashers maybe, or there may have been some sort of grinding tool.
Let's try this again, shall we?
Same as with grinding coffee beans or grinding meat for sausage. Some sort of cast iron geared tool in a big wooden bucket. I'm curious if any of you all know the first steps people used to do in the late 1800s, early 1900s. Maybe some of you still do it that way. I'd love to hear it.
Okay. Alright, I messed that up. I forgot to do the cheesecloth. Now, I've done it without it, but you end up getting a ton of bits of apples into your cider, and it just makes it go bad a lot faster. So, take 2.
Now, this isn't my first rodeo with this old tool. We did this last year out here too. But when you only do something once a year, well, it takes some catching up. And thankfully, Robbie and the kids came out to find me and lend their hands. I actually don't think I could have done this alone.
I thought you lost Maggie. I didn't see her back there.
Maggie who? How's it going for you?
Poorly.
Did you see me go up with
So you're gonna stand over to the side,
Where?
and you're gonna hold it when it goes out that way, okay?
Okay, here it comes.
Uh-oh.
Is that enough?
Yeah, we're spilling
Yeah.
it. This over like that. Oh, no, it's bypassing in here. So what are we not doing here?
That's not good.
At first, we got no juice. Something was off. But Robbie fiddled with it, and little by little, things started to happen.
So that...
Yeah, we're getting some.
But the juice still wasn't flowing quite right.
Oh. But see, like, it's pushing juice out the top, which I think these apples, they were just too something with how we've never had them. Juice is coming out the top, not out the... See how the juice is coming up the top? See how it's all in the top? Normally, you take the bag when it's full and it's heavy, and then when it's empty, it's light. It's like it's binding with the cheesecloth, or like the stuff is so mushed up that the juice can't move through the pulp.
I think that what we're slowly figuring out here with these apples behaving more oddly than in past years is that by storing them for so long,
Really sour.
I mean, it's been well on a month for some of these apples, they just aren't separating pulp and juice well. Or at least that's our assessment. Somehow the pulp is too dry or too spongy to let the juice pass by. It's gripping onto it. This is like so many lessons out here. One of the many pioneer skills that you may think to yourself, as I did, well, how hard can it be? You mash them, you press them, you get juice. But these skills, ranging from the types of apple you use, to the nuances of the tools, to the passed down tips and tricks, well, we've just lost so much of the story. Starting again is not child's play.
Shown as if...
But here we go, pressing number 2, more pulp. Into the press.
Here, Max, catch it,
Catch it, Maggie, catch it.
catch it. There's still a lot of juice in it.
Squeeze her out.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, Robbie.
You put
Oh.
Maggie, another jar. Hurry up, another
Maggie, jar.
So yeah, Jackson cider parties are a little bit messy.
My mom knitted this sweater like 2 days ago. Sorry, Mom. I have been begging for a hand knit sweater for years, and she came through. This is her first grown-up sweater for me, hand knit. Now, Maggie has one, George has one, and I have one. Feels pretty special. And the best thing about wool out here, I got sprayed by the garden hose while cleaning apples. I've had apple juice splashed all over me, but this is pure wool, and pure wool doesn't smell like the campfire. It doesn't absorb all the stickiness and water. It is the best material. And talk about something people in history fully understood that a lot of people today forget. Wool is the best. You can't beat it. So, thank you, Mom.
Hey, you guys want to know what being a Jackson on a ranch is? This is being it.
Getting
No,
dirty.
you hold on to it.
What?
One time we were in the house when I was a little kid, in Grandma and Grandpa's house, and the water didn't work. So guess what? It was the middle of winter and super cold. I had to go out with Grandpa, and I had to hold a flashlight above the well pit while Grandpa was down in the well pit. Do you know who was colder, Grandpa or Dad?
Dad.
Yep, because I was outside. Grandpa was down in the pit. And guess what? We had to go until we had the water running. So this is just like that. Sometimes you don't have time to complain. And when you get back in that warm car, boy, it will feel nice. But this is a Jackson thing, is where you worked at the weirdest hours and nothing goes right. And you're doing this all because, see, I just did it again. You think Dad would learn his lesson, wouldn't he? We're done.
Maggie, this is what makes life fun.
There's that stuff right there, person can.
Well, Rob, let it never be said we don't know how to have fun. That entire 5-gallon bucket full of chopped, diced, ground up apple and juice, we got 3 jars. 3 jars of juice. Nothing went quite to plan, of course. You know, that really sends home why something like cider, you had to have an orchard. And certainly out here in Montana, back in the 1880s, you'd be lucky if there was an apple tree here. I mean, people were just starting to plant them. Civilization back east, yeah, they had orchards, but not out here, not in the West. It was still very barren and very difficult. And even to this day, having an apple orchard is super special. This ranch has never had a ton of money, it's never had a ton of stuff, but we've got what we've got and we get by with it. Yeah, it's a little cowboy, but the end result is the same. We want gallon after gallon of apple cider, not just to drink, but to preserve, and some to turn into vinegar for the long winter.
I'm actually going to take one of these jars, add a little mother of vinegar from my last batch, and tuck it away in the cupboard, room temperature. With a little babysitting, I'll have apple cider vinegar to last me through to next summer. But this 1 bucket of pulp that we just pressed was by no means the whole prize from all those apples. This was just the 1889 method. And it worked, but it had its difficulties. So with a little washing down of the equipment and clearing up, we can jump back over to the crowd and we can tackle all the rest of those apples back at the main ranch in our hillbilly way.
So let's take bucket after bucket of apples, probably 1,000 apples, and let's turn every last one of them into cider. And have a big old party with lots of friends to do it. Because this is a job that takes a whole lot of hands to get done right.
To get hundreds of apples through this night and turned into cider, there will be a job for every man, woman, and child. It starts with giving each apple a good soak and scrub, and then it's onto a table full of willing hands and sharp knives. The downside to the modern way is the noise of the grinder, the worry for little kids to stumble into the electrical stuff. I like the quiet of wooden tools on the prairie, but boy oh boy is it nice to have water and pressure to wash things down.
Good. The number one take home I always get when I use old tools from the past is, man, am I grateful for running water. Oh, that is one thing from history. I can live with candlelight and oil lamps. I can live with old tools. I kind of like it. I mean, it's quiet out here. There's no power drills, there's no grinders, there's none of that. But not having running water, not having warm water on demand, I find that part hard. I suppose it'd be different for each person, but for me, that is the number one thing that I love about today's world.
So the next tool is the modern equivalent of the wooden press that we just used out at Uncle Dan's 1889 cabin. So this big red press, this is where the kids crank down the handle and the apple pulp gets pressed through a metal sieve, and then out the bottom comes the cider. And with minimal contaminants like seeds and pulp, this beauty is bolted down. It is a heavy thing, and it is 100% the kids' favorite tool of the night, besides the hose.
Pretty neat. So that's apple juice. And this has to get moved underneath there.
Each kid got to hop up and crank the press down 10 turns.
Look at all that juice.
Okay.
Holy smokes. All right, Lukey, let someone else try. Theo, get up there.
The thrill those boys had. They loved it. We had to keep track of whose turn it was.
Joey's turn.
Now, it was a solid bit of work before anyone actually got to taste the cider. Once one of the big farmer hydraulic buckets was full, it got sent through the spigot and into glass jars and to little tasting cups. Now, I won't say who, but one little boy drank himself silly on the juice and had to go sit by the fire to try to keep it down.
Finding enough apples to do this party that we do every year, we go all throughout the town and we knock on doors and we basically beg for apples. It took all of our friends bringing boxes of apples, each one, from hunting them down. Great grandma used to have an orchard, but over time, this is just too harsh of a place. So those of you back east, treasure your apples, because out west, it's not so easy for us.
I was talking to my friend from back east, who is at this cider party, along with her dad, who's a tree surgeon specifically for apple trees. And when I asked if she'd been to a million cider parties in her youth, she said, actually, no. It's such a big deal back east with the large apple orchards and professional cider setups that the days of doing your own have somewhat passed by. You buy your cider, or you go to a big farm to buy it. But luckily here in Montana, even if our product is inferior, we get the joy of doing this ourselves. You have to learn to do stuff on your own. And yes, with some poor old tools. But the joy of seeing what real cider looks like, so thick, so rich, you just can't buy that experience anymore. Those days have gone. And this was a feeling that we all shared at the party, that this messy job was a real treat. Just to go home with 1 gallon of cider was like having a bar of gold squeezed from a bushel of wormy apples. We all felt like this was special.
We had the best group of people tonight. We got to use some antique tools that, yeah, they work, but they're not easy, they're messy. But certainly every apple that we do get here, we try to make the best of it. And these jars of cider, these will be appreciated. Obviously, we are going to drink copious amounts, but a good chunk of this pulp I'm going to turn into apple cider vinegar.
And if you're wondering what happens to the rest of the pulp, because there is a lot of it, well, let's just say the chickens are going to feast for days and days and days. And some of it might even ferment a bit, and the chickens might have an extra special treat.
So bad.
George, did you drink too much cider?
Yes.
Like so many things out here, I am learning. I am not a master, but these are the pioneer skills, the tricks of the trade that it absolutely takes to survive. And in a place out west, a place out east, shoot, from Alaska down to South America, these are the skills you gotta have. Maybe the fruits and the foods change or get switched out, but being able to pickle, to can, to press, to turn things into vinegar, you gotta be able to do it to survive. So this was a cool moment back in history, but the night's not over yet.
Because everyone had to watch the harvest moon rise. October 6th, we got graced with a full moon, known as the harvest moon. And that felt very fitting. So as families trickled away home, arms full of jars and growlers, filled to the brim with fresh pressed cider, we cleaned, we washed down the equipment, and we kept warm by the fire. A very ancient thing to do. 1 day of the year, 1 whole day for this special treat. Worth it? By every estimation, yes.
Thank you guys for grinding, chopping, pressing, bottling all of these apples into apple cider, apple vinegar, all of it. Today was a fantastic day. So thank you for being with us out here in the 1889 cabin. We'll hope to see you next week. Cheers.
George Costanza.
Yeah, exactly. Remember that?
Yeah.
These hands haven't seen a day of work in their lives.